Taylor Swift has infiltrated one of our most celebrated man caves.
I think we all know that if there's one thing that male sports fans want to see, it's more of me.
Taylor Swift is using her boyfriend and this immensely popular podcast.
The world of entertainment thrives on drama, on secrets, on the kind of revelations that shake entire careers to their core. For decades, Wendy Williams has sat at the center of that very storm. She built her empire on controversy.
Claim from Wendy Williams' guardianship that she is indeed suffering from dementia. This is what they came out and said, that this was the results that they got back from the medical evaluation that she went through. Well, that claim is not sitting well with Wendy or her attorney, Joe Tacopina.
Be right back.
The claim from Wendy Williams' guardianship that she is indeed suffering from dementia. This is what they came out and said, that this was the results that they got back from the medical evaluation that she went through. Well, that claim is not sitting well with Wendy or her attorney, Joe Tacopina, who gave us his reaction to these, I say, alleged test results. I believe that there were test results.
Yeah.
What Joe isn't buying is what the actual results were.
He's saying that there's some bias on the part of the other side here.
The Guardian.
The Guardians, because they hired their own doctors to perform the tests, and he's also saying that he and Wendy have not received the results of those tests, and they deal with Wendy's, cognitive. What her cognitive abilities are,
right. And this is what Joe told us. He said, "Let me be clear: the claim is false and is being spread by a party with a vested interest in keeping Wendy trapped under this excessive and restrictive guardianship." So he didn't say who it is, but you can, it's pretty clear, very thinly veiled, pointing in the direction of the guardianship. More to come from that battle.
Making headlines and carving out her legacy by daring to say what others wouldn't. She branded herself the Queen of Talk, sipping her tea while spilling everyone else's. Celebrities feared her words, and audiences tuned in because she wasn't afraid to expose, humiliate, or question the biggest names in Hollywood. But what happens when the curtain is pulled back on Wendy herself? What happens when the hunter becomes the hunted, and the very system she thrived in turns against her? That moment has come, and the person delivering the blow is none other than Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, the global superstar, the cultural powerhouse, the woman who has turned her personal struggles into anthems and her feuds into empires. Taylor has built a reputation for controlling her own narrative with precision, waiting for the right moment to strike. And when she does, the world pays attention. She is deliberate, calculated, and above all, powerful. So when she decided to break her silence about Wendy Williams and reveal disturbing secrets that no one expected, it wasn't just
The artist in the history to win Album of the Year 4 times. Good God, Kelsey, just introduced the guest already. Taylor Swift! Who? Oh, Taylor Swift on the Kelsey Bros podcast. That's cool, right, everyone?
As men, our last bastion of solace has been infiltrated.
And she is thumbing her nose at all sports fans.
You guys have a lot of male sports fans that I think we all know that if there's one thing that male sports fans want to see in their spaces and on their screens, it's more of me.
It's so good.
There's a big, just flipped us all off. She knows she's doing it.
Yeah, because you guys are bitch-ass babies. She's calling you guys out. I'll say it before you guys say it.
You guys ruin everything!
She had the audacity to go to her boyfriend's games, and now she's coming for the podcast.
They even said she was the most requested guest.
Swifties are their listeners.
No, their listeners are manly men who do manly things. Stand up for the men, Travis.
Such a nice color on you.
Yes, I know. It's the color of your eyes, sweetie.
Jesus. Anyway, hell of a way to promote the new album. Speaking of which,
How nervous is Blake right now?
Whether there's an actual song about Blake Lively, Swifties will think that there's a song about Blake Lively.
Now she'll make some reference to a lively conversation or something, and
This just in, there's a lively conversation.
No.
Whoa. You were wading into Derek territory. That was.
He was waiting for me to harmonize.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Travis. And of course, thank you,
Taylor Swift!
Just another celebrity spat. It was a reckoning. It all began like many of Wendy's feuds do, with shade. Wendy, never one to back down, decided once again to call Taylor out. She questioned her relationships, mocked her image, and even threw shots at her devoted fanbase. To Wendy, this was nothing new. She had done the same to countless others, tearing down reputations while boosting her own relevance. But this time, she underestimated who she was dealing with. Because Taylor Swift is not just another celebrity, she is an industry in herself, a force that commands armies of fans, a woman whose every word echoes far beyond the stage. And Taylor decided she wasn't going to let this slide. When Taylor spoke, her words weren't wild accusations or cheap insults. They were sharp, controlled, and devastating. She peeled back the carefully constructed facade that Wendy had spent years maintaining. She revealed truths that many had whispered about but few dared to say aloud. Disturbing truths about Wendy's past, about her behavior, about her treatment of others. Taylor
didn't mention anything about Baldoni. Here's the text I had with her. Here's other evidence, because don't forget, you're going to do discovery now between then and the deposition. So all this discovery about text messages and emails and phone calls are going to come in first, right? So then you take Blake Lively's deposition, and Blake Lively said, Taylor Swift didn't know anything. You know, that's my fault. I was BSing. I thought that it might help because I wasn't being heard. So that's why I brought her name into it. If she says that, then it's less likely that you would need Taylor Swift. Now, the counter argument is, great, that's what you say, but let me hear from Taylor Swift and see what she says. And Taylor Swift comes in and says, listen, I had no clue, and I don't know what's going on. I'm not a T Swift fan, but at the same point, this happens a lot where people use.
Did you just admit that? Did you just admit that you're not a T Swift fan? Because you're about to get a lot of hate. Let me tell you, you're about to get a lot of hate.
I'm an AC/DC guy, so I'm not a T Swifter. But
good luck, Bradford. Good luck. Let me ask you this, by the way, really important. Would we know? Pressure. That is the pressure. Would we know if she gets deposed? Would we ever see a copy of it? Remember, this is a case that's almost being litigated in the public. If there was a deposition that came out that was beneficial to Blake Lively or beneficial to Justin Baldoni, would we see it before a trial?
My guess is yes. And then the actual depo itself, probably not. You'll see that it was filed a motion to take the depo. You'll see the objection to the depo. Then an actual depo gets taken, and if it's very positive for Baldoni, I think that some sort of motion will be filed that those depositions can't be leaked. I don't know how the judge will rule on it. Knowing this judge like I know him, my guess is that he's going to say, hey, any depositions that are taken are going to be between the parties. Those aren't to be disclosed. But what Baldoni's attorney will do, or Taylor Swift's attorney, I think at this point they've kind of caught on to the game, is that if there's a positive deposition in favor of one of their sides, they'll file a motion and they'll attach a portion of the deposition to that motion saying, this is what was said.
Right. Okay, let me ask you this. I'll let you read between the tea leaves here. So Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, he went on this podcast. It's called the Two Angry Men podcast. It was just a few days ago. It was after the first court hearing. This is what he said. I don't know that we're going to depose Taylor Swift or not. I think that's going to be probably a game time decision. Anyone that reasonably has information that can provide evidence in this case is going to be deposed, for sure. Bradford, what does that mean?
He's not saying he's going to take her depo, because I'm sure he's throwing that out there so that Taylor Swift's attorneys will reach out to him and say, hey, listen, guys, she doesn't know anything. Maybe she'll provide an affidavit that says, I don't know anything. I was never contacted, all these different things to avoid taking a deposition. So like I said before, I really like Baldoni's lawyer. I think he's smart because of the way he's going about things. These overt, little messages that he's throwing out there into the public. It's hey, without saying Taylor Swift, reach out to me, Taylor Swift, reach out to me. Let's see if we can come to an agreement where I'm not taking your depo, because you could just answer these questions for me. And if you tell me this is what happened, you give me an affidavit, you give me something like that, maybe we can avoid this all.
Painted a picture not of a strong media personality, but of a woman consumed by bitterness, manipulation, and hypocrisy. The reaction was immediate. Social media erupted. Swifties mobilized instantly, amplifying Taylor's words and demanding accountability from Wendy. Hashtags trended, clips resurfaced, and suddenly, Wendy's entire career was being put under the microscope. People began re-examining the controversies Wendy had weathered in the past, her cruel comments about celebrities' struggles, her mocking of tragic situations, her insensitivity when the cameras were rolling. What Taylor had revealed now connected all those dots, exposing a pattern that couldn't be ignored. Fans who once laughed along with Wendy now questioned why they ever supported her. Critics who once dismissed her as harmless gossip began pointing to the real damage she had caused. And celebrities who had sat quietly as Wendy took aim at them suddenly began liking posts, dropping subtle reactions, and making it clear they weren't unhappy to see the tables finally turn. For years, Wendy had been the one holding the mic. Now, that mic had been ripped away, and the silence on her end was deafening. Wendy's refusal to respond only added fuel to the fire.
For example, she claimed that he improvised intimate scenes, talked inappropriately about pornography in his personal life, that he invaded her space. She claims that he and his team then launched a smear campaign against her online and in the media to retaliate against her, to tarnish her reputation after she raised her concerns about his alleged misconduct. She sued him. Then he fires back. He ends up suing her, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and others, claiming that they launched a campaign against him, that they weaponized false allegations against him, and that she ultimately took control over what is essentially, he claims, his film. And he also sued the New York Times, claiming that they colluded with Lively to publish a hit piece about him by publishing out of context and cherry-pick communications and messages to paint him in a negative light, and that they didn't do the proper due diligence. That's his argument. And there's also been some ancillary lawsuits too. For example, there's litigation between Baldoni, his company, and his former publicist regarding allegations of stealing clients and who's responsible for sharing information with Blake Lively and who is behind the alleged smear campaign. It gets a bit complicated, but you get the general gist of what's going on, and we won't go too much more into the weeds here. But I want to go back to the central question here, right? Why are Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman now potentially a part of this? Well, I'm going to start with Taylor Swift. As you may know, Swift has a close relationship, or maybe had a close relationship, with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. I'm not sure what the current status of it is. But Baldoni claims that at one point in time, he believes Lively used Taylor Swift, possibly without her even realizing, to pressure him into accepting her rewrites of a key scene of the film. That both Swift and Reynolds praised Lively's rewrites to Baldoni in person. That this happened during a meeting at Lively's Manhattan penthouse. And Baldoni's argument is that he felt pressured to accept these rewrites, that she used her power, her influence, her famous connections to pressure him and gain further control over the film. Power dynamics, motivations, they're key elements of this case. So for example, there's this apparent text message that Baldoni seemingly sent to Lively that reads, "Also was working on rooftop scene today. I really love what you did. It does help a lot. Makes it so much more fun and interesting, and I would have felt that way without Ryan and Taylor." Now, it seems Baldoni suggesting he wasn't really being honest, but just basically saying what Blake Lively wanted to hear. In response, and this is critical, Lively reportedly texted back, "I told them," Reynolds and Swift, "that you laughed a bunch and said it's probably a blend, but you appreciate my passion so much," which of course didn't feel great for me or them, to have my passion praised instead of any specific contribution. Meaning she could feel his sense of hesitation in the rewrites, right? That seems to be the argument. And this, by the way, actually led to Baldoni apparently sending Blake Lively a voice note at 2 a.m. apologizing regarding his initial reaction to her rewrites.
Every hour she stayed quiet. The backlash grew louder. Every day she avoided the issue. The speculation intensified. Was she too afraid to fight back? Was she overwhelmed by the sheer scale of Taylor's influence? Or was it that she knew Taylor's words were true, and there was no defense strong enough to counter them? For a woman who made a career out of speaking first and loudest, her silence was the loudest statement of all. Taylor Swift didn't need to drag the moment out. She didn't need endless interviews or drawn-out drama. One statement, one carefully delivered revelation, and the entire conversation shifted. That's the kind of power Taylor holds. The kind that turns her enemies into headlines and her words into movements. Wendy Williams had spent years dictating the narratives of others, but Taylor showed her how it feels when someone with true influence decides to turn the spotlight in your direction. And the fallout has been brutal. Sponsors who once tolerated Wendy's antics began distancing themselves. Viewers who once tuned in for her sharp commentary are questioning whether they want to support her platform anymore. Even in the entertainment industry, where controversy is currency, there are limits, and Wendy may have finally crossed hers. For Wendy Williams, this isn't just another scandal to shrug off. This isn't just another feud to stir ratings. This is the kind of exposure that changes everything, because Taylor Swift didn't just call her out, she stripped away the mask, revealing the disturbing truths behind the image Wendy tried to sell. She forced the world to see Wendy not as the bold, fearless queen of talk, but as someone who has been hiding behind her own insecurities, lashing out at others to cover up her own flaws. And the industry has noticed. Celebrities who once sat nervously across from Wendy are now watching her downfall with a mix of relief and satisfaction. Some are even openly celebrating, pointing out that karma has finally caught up. Because for years, Wendy thrived off the pain of others. For years, she laughed while others cried, mocked while others suffered, and built herself up by tearing others down. But as the old saying goes,
in disposing of the weeks of effort and creativity spent by the wardrobe team on shopping and carefully crafting her wardrobe, Lively sent hundreds of images to the film's costume designer, including into the late hours of the evening, depicting the style of wardrobe she wanted for her character. The costume designer had to reshop Lively's wardrobe, far exceeding the allocated budget and diverting time and resources while also preparing wardrobes for the rest of the cast. At one point, Lively insisted that her character had money and could afford $5,000 shoes, despite being a fledgling small business owner. This forced Baldoni to rethink the entire script that had been in the works for well over a year. It was approved by both Sony and Wayfair, a script that Wayfair had commissioned multiple drafts of, incorporated countless notes, including input from the book's author, Colleen Hoover. The wardrobe budget ballooned. Now, you hear that, but then People magazine, reported that a source close to Blake Lively said being upset about the wardrobe in a movie is not a legal claim, but sexual harassment absolutely is. Unlike Baldoni's efforts to confuse and distract with an irrelevant sideshow, Blake has filed serious, credible allegations that she was sexually harassed, spoke out and took steps to stop the harassment, and then was retaliated against. And that's the question I have for you, Bradford. The allegations, she took control of the movie, she was ballooning it up, she was changing the script, the wardrobe, he felt pressured to accept her demands. How exactly is that relevant and respond to the direct claims of sexual harassment and retaliation?
Okay, it doesn't, right? It is trying to undermine her credibility, which is the point that they're getting at, right? The fact of whether or not this is the legality of her.
What goes around comes around, and in this case, it came back in the form of one of the most powerful women in the world exposing her for who she really is. Taylor Swift has nothing to lose. Her empire is bigger than ever, her fanbase stronger than ever, her control over the industry unmatched. But Wendy Williams? She has everything to lose. And right now, it looks like she's losing it all. Her credibility, her reputation, her empire, all slipping through her fingers as the backlash continues to grow. This moment is bigger than gossip. It's bigger than celebrity feuds. It's about accountability. It's about the reality that no one, no matter how untouchable they think they are, is safe from the truth. Wendy Williams built her entire legacy on exposing others, but now she has been exposed in the most brutal way imaginable, and the person who delivered that final, devastating blow was Taylor Swift. The disturbing secrets Taylor revealed are still echoing, still being dissected, still spreading across platforms and conversations. And for Wendy, the nightmare is only just beginning, because once the public turns against you, once the backlash takes root, there's no easy way back. Especially when the one who exposed you is Taylor Swift, an artist with the power not just to dominate charts, but to dominate culture itself. The story of Wendy Williams may not end here, but one thing is certain, it will never be the same. The woman who once thrived in exposing others has now been stripped bare. The secrets she fought to keep hidden have been dragged into the light, and the storm she unleashed on others has finally come for her. This is not just a fall from grace, this is a collapse fueled by years of cruelty, arrogance, and disregard for the impact of her words. A collapse triggered by one superstar deciding enough was enough. Taylor Swift didn't just clap back, she dismantled an empire with a few carefully chosen words. And Wendy Williams, once the queen of exposing, now finds herself standing exposed, alone, and facing a reckoning she can no longer escape. Because in the end, the truth always comes out, and when it does, no amount of tea, no amount of shade, no amount of bravado can protect you. Wendy Williams is learning that the hard way, and thanks to Taylor Swift, The world is watching her downfall in real time, with shock, with fascination, and with the undeniable knowledge that this is the moment everything changes. And as the dust settles, one reality remains clear: Wendy Williams may have written the rules of the game, but Taylor Swift just showed her how it ends.